Okay, so now we're going to read this transcript from the Law of One. I'm going to read from here to about here to 12 to 12:30. So from 12:26 to about 12:30. So all right, so again, this is a transcript between a questioner who was questioning a person being channeled. They're questioning an entity that's channeled through a person, and the person calls himself Ra. So I'll start it. Now the questioner asks Ra, he says, "Thank you. Well, you spoke of wanderers. Who are wanderers? Where do they come from?" And Ra says, "Imagine, if you will, the sands of your shores. As countless as the grains of sand are the sources of intelligent infinity." Just basically saying how big the universe is. And imagine the universe. When a social memory complex has achieved this complete understanding of its desire, it may conclude that its desire is to serve others with a distortion towards reaching their hand figuratively to any entity who call for aid. And basically this is saying that six-dimensional entities, they do their work, and when they've done their work to a pretty great degree, they decide to, I guess, challenge themselves, and they answer, I guess, like prayers or answer callings from lower dimensions like 3D. They answer prayers, or talk, just I guess the same way that they're talking to these people during this channeling session. And they also come here at times to change the earth and do things to help the earth or other planet, wherever they go to. It's not just limited to the earth. And next it says, "These entities, whom you may call the brothers and sisters of sorrow, move toward this calling of sorrow. These entities are from all reaches of the infinite creation and are bound together by the desire to serve in this distortion." Basically saying that it's not just earth, it's probably all like the universe, the many possible planets in the universe. They say the universe is infinite. So next it says, "How many of them are incarnate on earth now?" Ra says, "The number is approximate due to a heavy influx of those birthed at this time due to an intensive need to lighten the planetary vibration and thus aid harvest." So harvest is like a ascension, from my understanding. But basically what this means, what I interpret it to be, is that there's a heavy influx of wanderers to raise the vibration of the planet, to bring the planet up to a higher vibration. I guess this presumes that the planet is at a lower vibration and the vibration needs to be raised. And it says the number approaches 65 million. So it says there's like 65 million wanderers on Earth. And they say that there's like 7-8 billion people on Earth. I don't know if I believe that or not, but that's what they say. And 65 million out of like 8 billion is really just a drop in the bucket. There's a very, very small percentage of the people that exist on the Earth in total. So next it says, "Are most of these from the fourth density? What density do they come from?" All right, before I answer the question or give you Ra's answer, let's talk a little bit about fourth density, at least what I interpret fourth density to be. Here we're in the 30, and a fourth dimensional person, when you start talking about a fourth dimensional person, you're talking about psychics, clairvoyants, people who have extreme abilities with their mind and their consciousness. They've really graduated, and they're taking their mind and the mind's ability to another level. That's when you start talking about fourth dimensional entities. And of course it goes beyond that, but that's kind of the tip of the iceberg of what a fourth dimensional entity exists as and experiences life through. And Ra says, few there are fourth density. So there's very few fourth density wanderers here. Very few. Most are sixth density. The largest number of wanderers, as you call them, are of the sixth density. The desire to serve must be distorted towards a great deal of purity of mind and what you may call foolhardiness or bravery, depending upon your distortion complex judgment. It's a really brave thing to do for a sixth-dimensional entity to come down to the 3D and try to do some positive work as a wanderer. It's a big risk. And the challenge / danger of a wanderer is that it will forget its mission, become karmically involved, and thus be swept into the maelstrom from which it had incarnated to aid the destruction. And we've talked about that before, earlier. And next question. What could one of these entities do to become karmically involved? Could you give us an example? And I've already talked about it already, but Ra's answer is an entity which acts in a consciously unloving manner in actions with other beings can be karmically involved. Basically, you do the wrong thing, or you mistreat someone during your life, or you get caught up in some situation, some negative entanglement or whatever. You could end up having to come back here to fix that karma, and you're under the veil of forgetfulness, so you can end up creating an even bigger karma and just be caught up in a spider web. So it's a big risk. And the last question that I'll go through on this, the questioner says, do any of these wanderers have physical ailments in this earth situation? Remember, I talked about a lot of this is it's a very hostile place for a six-dimensional entity to come and do work, and the body suffers for that reason. But here, Ra's answer is due to the extreme variance between the vibratory distortions of third density and those of the more dense densities, if you will, wanderers have, as a general rule, some form of handicap, difficulty, or feeling of alienation, which is severe. Like just difficult for them to fit in. Sometimes they have actual real physical handicaps. The most common of these difficulties are alienation, not fitting in, the reaction against the planetary vibration by personality disorders, like they don't fit in, and it's just like their mind can't adapt, and they just seem like weirdos. Some of them, even if they may not be idiots or anything, but just feel like weirdos, and therefore you act out on it, and it makes you alien-like to other people. As you would call them, the body complex ailment indicating difficulty in the adjustment to the planetary vibrations, such as allergies, as you would call them. So even the food is rather hostile to these people sometimes. Okay, I'm not going to read this last question because the answer is too deep, and I don't think you're ready for that or interested in it at this moment. So I'll stop here on that, and I'll go to the next section, and it's basically so here second website that I found, thought it was pretty interesting. Where they talk about these types of things. So I'll end the video, I'll wrap the video up by, at the end I'll show you here. It says, what is a wanderer soul? I'll read this to wrap the video up. And it's a couple of paragraphs. But before I read that, I'm going to take you through a checklist. How to know if you are a wanderer. Characteristics of a wanderer. And I'm going to read these to you and talk about myself. It's going to get a little personal, and I'll tell you about myself, but I think it'll bring it more to life and make it more relatable and realistic. So let's get started with it. So here, the first thing, extremely spiritual and interested in all things metaphysical. This usually includes crystals, philosophy, and ritualistic practices. I think that this very much applies to me. Even from a very early age, I was, from my earliest memories, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, when I could first read well, I was really fascinated with ghost stories. Not fantasy ghost stories, but real life ghost stories that they say was real life. I think one of my favorite books back then was like the 13 Ghosts of Alabama, 13 Ghosts of Mississippi, or something like this, and it tells you real life stories where people get done wrong or something happens to them. They end up haunting a place and for a very long time. I became really fascinated in that, and as I grew older, I began becoming interested in a pretty popular TV show in my country, the U.S., called Unsolved Mysteries, where they talk about all types of just mysterious real things and crimes and stuff, but they also talked about the paranormal. They talked about aliens, they talked about anything paranormal, all this the weird stuff, and I'm quoting that, the weird stuff. They talked about it, and I was really interested in that stuff deeply. And I remember watching it sometimes by myself and being scared, but I wanted to know, so I continued to watch and be scared. It's like this big sacrifice in my little child mind. And also, I lived with my grandmother. I was a caregiver. She was physically disabled, and she was very devout Christian, and she loved to talk about demons and haints and evil spirits and stuff like this, and like this was really fascinating to her. And I knew that this was like she liked to talk about it, so I would pick her brain and ask her lots of questions about it. And I think a lot of times she would just entertain herself and just tell me whatever. But this at a young age, I was at like five-ish, I was really interested in all of this stuff. And now as an adult, you see the type of content that I have, so that's up on you to decide if that's spiritual or not. And here the next one, the next trait or characteristic, it kind of ties into what I just talked about. There's a huge interest in aliens. A lot of people don't particularly care if aliens exist or not. However, wanderers are often obsessed with the existence of aliens. Okay, so with this one, I'm not really, I used to be interested in aliens, but I'm at the point now, like my whole outlook on what an alien is and how they exist is probably very different from what a lot of people believe. So I'll just take a moment and kind of tell you my beliefs and my thoughts on this. I believe that on Earth there are lots of undiscovered creatures, intelligent creatures, and the Earth is huge, and a lot of it is unmapped and huge, and we don't know like what's here. Like for example, the ocean. Think about how there's all this emphasis and money invested in space travel, but only 5% of the ocean has been discovered. And there's lots of information about the ocean having intelligent life in it, like people, humanoid creatures in the ocean. And I think it's very strange and very weird. I've always thought this huge interest in space, but no one cares about the ocean, which is here and a lot easier to assess, and it's a lot more relevant to here. It's like it, and I believe the whole space thing is like a big facade or like a big type of cover up, and I don't think that we can go and colonize another planet. I think we could go be there for a very short amount of time, but I don't think we can survive in any period of time. And when I talk about this, I think about it in terms of the energetic vibrations spiritually, and even within the physical world. It's just not a match for our biology. It's not a match for our spiritual purpose here, and it doesn't. I don't buy into it. And I think it's like some type of cover up. But I do think there's a huge amount. I think that all of the aliens are here, and even I've made a video about inner Earth. I did it kind of as entertainment, but it's definitely a possibility on what I think can be. And I think a lot of the aliens are here. And I also believe that a lot of the work to be done, like they put an emphasis on the like concrete science and the things that are physics related, and they ignore the metaphysics, even though the government has, and when I say government, I'm talking about the U.S. government, but also there's other governments. Russia, there's a lot of documented information about like Russia. They're doing through extreme studies of the metaphysics and learning how to use the power of the mind to explore space and to do all kinds of things, fourth dimensional, gifted things that we know about, and a lot that we don't know about. But I think a lot of the potential is in the mind, and a lot of that is being ignored. So I just kind of went on a tangent, but I'll continue. I guess I could make a whole video on just those things that I just talked about. Next, homesickness. The feeling of wanting to go home no matter where you are. This applies to me too. So far, I did a lot of this. All of this stuff applies to me pretty well. Maybe not exact, but I'm in the neighborhood. Homesickness. From the very beginning, from the situation I grew up in, I knew I wanted to leave my country and go to another country. And my decision on where I wanted to go was based on what I saw on TV. And a lot of it was, the Chinese movies, Chinese kung fu movies, stuff about Japan. Those are the most popular, common places that you see on TV. So naturally, it's what I gravitated to and I wanted to do. And I always wanted to do that from a very early age. Had no idea, didn't even have foreign people in my area. It's actually it's not diverse where I'm from. So it's like instinctually, this is what I wanted to do. And now, fast forward to now, I've been abroad for a scattered 15 years, the majority of my adult life. And, of course, I don't feel, I've had my good times and I've had my bad times everywhere, even here. But of course, I don't feel home here. And, you have different barriers, culture barriers, language barriers. And, so basically, no matter where I go, I typically just don't feel like I'm at home, that type of thing. But not saying I'm depressed or anything. It's just, I like to think that I'm comfortable anywhere, but I think the reality is that I kind of feel like I don't belong here, and home is somewhere else. And don't get it wrong, I love living. Okay, next, very empathetic and selfless by nature, being very generous, considerate, and concerned about people around you. I guess you'd have to ask someone else about that knows me well. In order, I think it would be unfair for me to start talking about myself and saying I'm this selfless, considerate person, because I think I think I'm quite selfish at times. And I can say when I was much younger, I was very empathetic, and I wanted to help people. I wanted to make this big impact, but on everything. And then as I grew up, I realized you can't. And I just felt like I couldn't. The older I got, I just felt more and more helpless. But at this portion of my life, I'm becoming more empowered, and I'm realizing that small things make huge impacts. So I'm focusing on those things. I'm exercising the power that I have, and I'm realizing the potential that I have. So I've gone full circle with that. Next, you look at the world around you and feel people need to wake up. How do I answer this? How do I speak on this? I just talked about my belief on what the government is doing. The governments are doing with by telling us the wrong thing about alien life, etc. And I think the emphasis should be more on unlocking the power of consciousness, the power of the mind, and all of those fourth dimensional things. And I think that should be the emphasis. And obviously, in this world, it's not the emphasis. The world is all about just production and just concrete things and just very mundane things. And I'll add to this by saying I feel that the world would be a much better place, even though I think it'll become misused eventually once people master it. If everyone from a very early age knew astrology and other esoteric sciences and knowledge, so that if they had the foundation at a very young age, they grow up, they could build on that foundation, and we could be like a super force as human beings in knowing our all this spiritual knowledge and being able to apply it and move forward. But of course, I think it would get abused eventually by someone with negative intentions. So I think it's one of the things, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Next, it says, you are more comfortable around plants and animals than with people. This is not because you dislike people, but more so because the vibration level of the people around you are quite foreign. Plants and animals are of a less varied yet more pure vibration and match your home dimension / world. This relates to me. I love nature. I think I love nature. I love being outside, getting sunshine, even when it's freezing cold. So sometimes I'll strip down and freeze in the freezing cold. I try to take it as it is, and I use it as adaptations and unlock my DNA, and I try to get powers that other people just underestimate and don't believe in through nature. I feel it offers me something that I have a secret that a lot of people don't know about. But in regards to animals, and I think this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, so I apologize if it does, but it's my thought, my feeling, and I'm just one person. In regards to animals, like for example, pet ownership, when I walk by a dog tied to a pole, it overwhelms me with sadness, because that dog is alone. It doesn't get to socialize. It doesn't get to be free. I know its breed has been watered down. It used to be a powerful wolf, in nature, hunting and living its life with the pack and all this stuff. Now it's reduced to just being tied to a tree. So when I see these things, even despite the animal looking happy, it just really makes me sad, because I think into it like that. I just, my belief is that all animals should be free. It just makes me feel good when I see everything free. A big belief or passion I have is about freedom. Freedom is one of the biggest, best things in life to me, and it carries over to that. So and some people see it as me not liking pets, but it's totally not the opposite. It's me loving pets in a deep way in my mind. But it's my thinking, my world. It's my thinking, and it's just not my world. I just live in it, and some things are the way that they are, and you just got to kind of let it be and experience it as it is and appreciate it as it is, and don't judge and don't be biased. Even though I just kind of judged a little bit when I explain what I just talked about. Next, an overwhelming urge to help make the world a better place, and feeling extremely saddened by the cruelty and seeming injustice that happens almost daily. I think I don't need to address this. I think you see my efforts here. I'm doing this in my way, and I just talked about just what I just talked about. I think that kind of answers that. Next, lots of daydreaming. You think about other worlds and various fantasies. This may come seemingly out of thin air, completely foreign to your native culture. Again, yeah, kind of. I've made quite a few videos about dreams, and that using your dreams as a subconscious tool to help you in your everyday reality, to get answers and to fix things and communicate with the other side through dreaming. So I've made videos about that. I'm very into the power of the mind, and I tend to idealize the fantasy beautiful world, like a perfect type of world. But I am coming to realize through living and learning that what I think and what I feel isn't. Sometimes it's wrong, and it's not important. It's not like I see things just in a crazy way, and when I shouldn't. Next, feeling as if your parents are not your real parents, not in the sense of being adopted, but in the sense of having another alternate family somewhere else. Absolutely with this, and again, don't get it wrong. I love my parents, and I'm pretty sure they love me, but a lot of times I just feel like we speak different languages, and we're from different worlds or something. I wish we were a lot closer than we are, and I don't think it's possible to be that close. We have to be ourselves from our own points of view, and I've come to the realization that I have to love them for them, and hopefully they love me for me, and that's where I've evolved to that in regards to that. Next, a feeling of being extraordinarily alone, no matter where you are or who you are with. Though some wanderers incarnate in groups and meet each other post-incarnation, it is possible this feeling will be nullified in this instance. Yeah, this is definitely me. I've spent a lot of my life alone, and not necessarily alone, but being around people that I don't know well. And I've gotten to the point now where I don't mind, speaking to a stranger and having a conversation with them, and it's very pleasant. It's very pleasant, and it soothes me. So I've grown to enjoy that and embrace the feeling of being alone. And also when I meet like other people that may possibly be wanderers, other people that are kind of outcasts in society, I love meeting these people. I love talking to them. As long as they're positive and approachable, I'd love to meet these people and talk to them and experience them. It's it's a beautiful thing when it happens, and I feel when I meet them, I feel like we don't have to talk. It's just we have an instant connection, and I connect with them. I vibe with them. Even though this says post incarnation, but I'm talking about just meeting possibly another wanderer when I'm out and about in my regular life. Next, incredible dreams. Often wanderers meet up with their soul family or in higher dimensions, being in the astral. You may have dreams where you are flying, talking to mysterious friends, or receiving protection. This is probably the only one that doesn't necessarily apply to me, that I have to say, nah, not really. I don't really. My dreams sometimes are very weird and strange, but it's rarely ever where I'm meeting someone and talking to someone, and we have this dream intimate relationship or anything. Every now and then I have a dream where I recognize someone from the 3D reality, and and we're together, and I miss them, and we're back together in my dream. Every now and then that happens, but other than that, this doesn't apply to me as they just said it in these words. And next, we're almost done with this. You find very ordinary things strange. Have you ever looked at a squirrel, a tree, or something completely ordinary and found it far more fascinating or novel than anything else? Not really. But I'll tell you how I think this can apply to me. In regards to travel, I've traveled to about 20 different countries through my life, and I want to see more. I want to see as much of the world as I can before I leave here, and enjoy it. Especially while I'm younger and have the vigor that I still have. But every time I step foot into a country, it's a very indescribable feeling. I feel like I'm stepping into a different world, and I'm seeing these different culture of people, and they're all the same, and everything is different. I feel like I've just awakened or a dormant part of my brain. I feel like I've unlocked another part of me. So every time I step into a new country, it's a really amazing, beautiful, transformational thing, and I feel like I just discovered a new piece of me. So it's really huge to me whenever that happens for me. Next, you find very ordinary things strange. Have you ever looked? Okay, I just read that. And the last one, most importantly, the fact that you have manifested this information and are reading it right now is a very strong indication that you are a wanderer. And enough said about that. I'll end the video, wrap it up by reading these few paragraphs. What is a wanderer's soul? I'll just read this, and I think this be a good to wrap everything up and bring everything into full perspective, and it'll even review a lot of what we already talked about. A wanderer may be defined as a soul from an alternate locale in our infinite universe who has incarnated with the intention of helping or serving a species on a relatively younger side of the evolutionary ladder. The name was coined most notably in the raw material written and channeled by the L and L research group, where a being claiming to be Ra, a six-dimensional collective conscious originating from Venus. And the Ra entity, they say it's not one being, but the collective consciousness of six-dimensional entities. So it's not one person they're talking to, according to them, in explaining what Ra is. Asserted there to be approximately 65 million wanderers to be incarnate January 1981. And I found this pretty fascinating. This is very close to my birthday. I'm on March 1981. Next, in higher density, intelligent life is far more polarized, and in our third dimension here, there seems to be a predominant gray area of morality where the majority of humans find themselves spiritually. In higher dimensions, the nature of intelligent life may be defined as either benevolent, characterized by absolute and conditional selflessness, often called Christ consciousness, or malevolent, the polar opposite of this. So it's either positive or negative, positive or negative, benevolent, malevolent. Next, our realm of physicality referred to as the third dimension, though technically the fourth is one where the soul effectively chooses and defines the nature of its soul so that it may have the intensity of light or darkness required to upgrade itself to be able to access and incarnate in these higher, more polarized dimensions. The concept of a gray area or otherwise spiritual complacency may be otherwise seen as being metaphysically static. The soul is left unnourished in its desire to expand and grow through experience and thus evolve. The comforts of wealth and abundant distraction often create this condition. Wanderers indicate from higher, more spiritually evolved realms to help younger souls or species native to various planets grow spiritually by teaching lessons of love and wisdom in order to encourage empathy or selflessness. This is to inspire spiritual development in a population. This is not always done by being obviously spiritual, as most beings integrate completely into human society, taking up very normal occupations and spreading love and wisdom in subtle ways, usually not even being aware that they are a wanderer. This is the beauty and the extent of the selflessness of the soul signs up for when taking up for the role of being a wanderer, agreeing to the great sacrifice of complete amnesia while incarnating in an energetically heavy body with almost no clue or recollection regarding the plan behind their existence. Such is the level of selflessness, or as Ra states, bravery or foolhardiness, the wanderer soul lives by. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I love you all. I appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe. Hope you really enjoyed my video. I hope this opened your mind and took you somewhere. Until next time, you have a beautiful rest of your day, your night, evening, wherever you are. I love you, and I'm gone. Take care.